and welcome to this edition of Novi's favorite podcast, Now You Novi. I'm Cheryl Walsh-Malloy, your host, and my co-host is our esteemed city manager, Victor Cardenas. Victor?
I'm not sure if anyone used esteemed, but thank you very much. Happy to be here again. Welcome back.
Thank you. You know, the esteemed kind of lends into our theme today of getting on board. You saw my email yesterday.
There's a lot of this now.
Right? I'm just kind of trying to lead into it. We're talking about trains, so the esteemed kind of lent itself.
Yep, and getting on board, very clever. Yes.
Trains. How many people think when we talk about Novi that we're going to talk about trains, right? Like automotive industry, we have a ton of businesses, tier 1, et cetera, tier 2, automotive businesses. But we don't talk about trains very often.
No, not at all. But I think it came to a head this past weekend. A crossroad, yes.
Crossings.
It came to a head this past weekend when we had a stalled train that was affecting and blocking 10 Mile Road just east of Novi Road. So that was there for a good, maybe an hour plus, maybe longer. I think luckily it happened during the weekend, not during the week and rush hour or anything like that. But it was definitely impactful. So we wanted to just kind of give a heads up and kind of talk a little bit about how trains work here in Novi and the state of Michigan, actually in the whole country, and what we have done in the past and what has been done to kind of get around that.
So Novi's real fortunate, I would say, in that the impact of trains on our roadways, I'm not going to say is minimal or virtually non-existent, because 10 Mile does definitely see an impact. But the train crossings in Novi, we were just discussing, are 12 mile, 10 mile, and down at 9 Mile. Did I miss any?
Nope.
So if we would go back a decade, 2 decades, much more impactful. Novi Road, we built the bridge over. We did. The road commission.
The road commission did.
The bridge. They built a new bridge over the Grand River and expanded that years prior to the Novi Road. There used to be, I think, even a little depot, if you would call it that, a historic little depot down by the Grand River Bridge that has since been demolished.
No, it's still there.
Is it there?
There's still a structure there, yep.
Okay.
Next to the Novi feed, yes, that U-Haul placers.
That is correct.
Yep.
That is correct. Why did I think it had a fire at one point?
I think it has come under fire a couple times, but it still stands.
I think it did too. But, so Novi's history with trains going through the city dates way, way back. Some might even say that the legend that Novi's name, number 6, train stop, stagecoach, whatever, but we all know that's folklore. But the train impact on Novi remains, as you just mentioned, looking even into this weekend and the disruption. Let's educate people a little bit on what we can and cannot do, because a couple years ago, we went round and round and round and round and round about the issue of trains stopping, changing crews, stalling, etc. Let's give people a little bit of education on the actual train. And what did we say it's called? The Great Lakes? Is it the Great Lakes line?
So we have 2 different companies that
CSX.
operate trains here in Novi. So we have CSX, which is a very huge train operation, and then we have Lake State Railway.
Yes.
So the issue that came up a couple years ago, especially during COVID, was that trains would stop before 10 Mile east of Novi Road, and they would sit there and kind of idle and let their engines keep on running as they were waiting for the next crew. And what we learned was CSX was operating it until then, and then they stopped and let the Lake State crew arrive and then pick up the train and continue south.
Hmm.
We have since been able to speak with the individuals that run Lake State and say, hey, can you maybe make that transition or that transfer a little bit farther north so it wouldn't impact those residents there on 10 Mile? And they agreed, and they have since stopped doing that. So, but the biggest thing is that railways, I mean, not to get into too much into constitutional law or anything, but they are interstate commerce. So they really have this special dispensation across all states to be able to operate, and they're kind of governed really on a federal level. So the state of Michigan really can't say much. We, the city, can't say much. But that is the power and the authority rests really in the federal government to kind of to oversee the rail system.
So the federal government oversees the rail system, the railway, not the trains themselves, correct?
Correct. Yeah. The rail system actually, or the rail, the operators are all privately held. So those were deregulated. I forget at what year, but it was many years ago. So the feds, and that's including the actual railways itself. So we maintain roads, and the state maintains freeways, but the rail companies maintain the railways.
So it's so funny because that's exactly where my mind was going. Very similar to a transportation, a roadway. If the state happened to need, or the county needed to reconstruct a roadway, the city is really, we're at a loss. Like there's really not much other than a partnership to establish a great time to redo the roadway, where our hands are tied. Very similarly to the railway system, from my understanding, with the federal jurisdiction. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, we are at the, I mean, for lack of a better term, we're at the mercy of the rail companies in this regard. You know, we can lament about what we deal with, but our colleagues and neighbors to the south, Plymouth, they have several different railway tracks that go through their community, and at times, I mean, they can cause gridlock with all the different trains that go through there. And they have reached out to the state and to the Fed numerous times to try to get some relief, and really, there's not a lot there in terms of support. So I know our colleagues to the north, Wixom, is trying to get a bridge over the train tracks there, and we're talking about like $30 to $40 million. So we're very fortunate to have our bridge when we did over Novi Road, and like you said, Grand River. So at this point, to try to do something over 10 Mile or over 12 Mile is going to be really, really expensive. And I don't foresee that in the near future.
So that's a great segue, because I was thinking when you're talking about Wixom, so future plans to widen and enhance 12 Mile. A big part of those discussions for the past several years, if not decade, have been what happens because of widening to 4, 5, 6 lanes. I don't recall what it is. The boulevard that currently exists, to continue that going west, there is the train tracks, and the cost to put a bridge was exorbitant. So what did that look like, having a mast arm or something that would, deter traffic or stop traffic, if you would, for the trains. And that's been a big part of the plans as we move forward.
Yeah. So just like anything else, when we work on any kind of piece of infrastructure, we have to look into our different partners. It might be a water authority for a water transmission line or a sewer, but this one is with the railway. So when we look at expanding 12 Mile with our colleagues at the Road Commission of Oakland County, talking to CSX and making sure that's done correctly and to their standards was also going to be in the hopper as well.
One big part of this, Victor, and I think I rightfully am going to give you kudos. I think a big part of this, the stalled engines, the idling, whatever, is building relationships. And a couple years ago, on your own shoulders, you really reached out, and I think it's a big part of ensuring, I guess, smooth operations throughout the rail system in Novi is developing relationships with the colleagues at the Lake State Railway and the CSX.
Yeah, so just like many of the corporations that our listeners are a part of, there's a government relations department or individual. So we've been able to identify those individuals at Lake State and CSX to be able to work together in terms of hey, getting some relief in terms of when those stops or those team transitions happen, so they don't kind of negatively affect our residents. Because at times I think those trains were sitting there for maybe a couple hours, and it might have been early in the morning, and might have been during the workday because people were working from home. So yeah, it's really just kind of establishing who those individuals are and just kind of just stating our case and being able to see if they can mitigate those transitions and those idling trains as much as possible. So I think we've gotten there, but from time to time you might have a train that breaks down, and which we had this past weekend.
So, fortunate enough, we have some great communication methods. Obviously, anyone that follows us on social media was aware, but Nixle, it's a great reminder that I guess I wouldn't say this is a full blown emergency, but something is blocking a roadway, right? And if you're trying to go between Novi Road and Meadowbrook or live in that general vicinity, it is a definite, I guess, a detriment. It's something that impedes
Yeah.
your ability to travel. And Nixle is a great, great tool that we use. You can go on nixle.com, I believe it is, and sign up, put your address in, put your phone number or your email, and our public safety team does send out emergency notifications letting you know there's a stalled train, there's a fire here, there's a hazardous spill, whatever the case might be. To help you navigate the community. And we're fortunate that, hey, if you're looking to get over to 10 and Meadowbrook, you could take Grand River, you could take 9 Mile around. We aren't gridlocked like many communities that you mentioned.
Yeah, because maybe like a usual 5-minute car ride from back to Meadowbrook, and maybe you had a hair appointment that time,
Yep.
and you needed to run over there, and the train was there. Then you had to kind of hurry up and go north and go on Grand River. Not
Right.
saying that happened to me, but it could happen to people, especially on that day.
Are you the one that started all these Nixles? Were you sitting there waiting forever?
There might have been a yes. There might have been a because I got my hair cut and then I came back and the train was still there, and I'm like, oh, okay. So then
This is a problem.
we were then engaged with the chief and everyone else to get the message out there. So it all worked out. But and I think not too long after that, they finally got the train up and moving.
Yeah. So trains do pose an issue in Novi. I guess the best advice is pack your patience. Understand it's short term, right? And we want to be good stewards and partners too. We the e-commerce that they provide to the area and the services they provide to our businesses. I mean, you and I have been up to Our Next Energy on 12 Mile, and one of the attractive points for them at the facility was the train, the railway, the system right next
The
to
rail spur.
the rail spur. It's amazing. Like, you would never think the benefit that could provide to a business along the rail system.
It's a very important aspect of commerce and our transportation network and getting goods and services to different parts of the country. But just so everyone knows, this is something on the federal level, so we can definitely engage our partners there. But unfortunately, we as a city have no oversight of this. So, like Cheryl said, pack your patience and just be mindful of that if you have a grievance with our friends at the railway.
But still, people that
Yep.
want to share their thoughts or any of their concerns, we have QSend. They can send information in there. Send an email to communityrelations@cityofnovi.org, and please, Victor and myself don't pretend or assume that we know anything or everything that's going on in the community at all times. Make us aware. Had Victor not been going, he might not have known, or going to 10 and Meadowbrook, he might not have known that it was stopped there. So please, if you ever are thinking, I won't share it, please do, because I live in the North End, you live in the, I guess, the West, but we are happy to communicate to all residents at any time. And also, Victor or myself can reach out to our government partners if it became a consistent issue again.
For sure.
Okay. How do you want to end, my friend?
Yeah, just give a wave to Thomas the Tank Engine when he rides by in his train. So, but yeah.
Do you remember as a kid sitting and being stopped and counting the cars
yeah.
as they'd go by?
Yep, and those trains have gotten a lot longer now from when we were younger. So, and how mesmerized we are by the trains now. We just like, oh my God, there's a train again.
Right. So that's a great way to end it. Think about that. Your childhood, you're mesmerized by it. You're taking it in. You're counting. You're enjoying. And as adults, we're annoyed. We are in hurries all the time. It's a great reminder to maybe slow down, count the trains. I guess you would slow down, smell the roses, slow down, count the trains.
There you go.
So if you got any more thoughts or questions on trains in Novi, Victor is your guy.
Wow.
Hey, you know what? I just now had this visual. You know where I was going, didn't you? How could we get out of this segment? Your affinity for trains.
Yes. No, we do not.
There is a video out there
is
somewhere.
a video, yes.
Victor is your train guy in Novi.
Please do not look at that video on YouTube. So, with that said.
Until next time.
Now you Novi.
Take care.